The show Smiling Friends, absolute masterpiece of a show that I am anxiously anticipating the second season of, has a character named 3D Squelton, who in this 2D animated show is this very gross stop motion or CGI, I don't totally know how they did him, character that the protagonist finds sitting in a park crying. Of course, not with actual tears, just saying, boo-hoo, boo-hoo-hoo. And they ask him what's wrong, and he says, oh, boo-hoo, it's just that the world is so damn rotten, there's so much hate and evil. Like, 3D Squelton just doesn't see a point in living anymore. And they ask him if there's anything that he likes, and he's like, 3D Squelton likes balloons. You know, he talks in the third person and everything. I have been obsessed with 3D Squelton for the past year. He's been a low-level obsession, like, all the time. And I find myself saying, boo-hoo, boo-hoo-hoo, all the time. And it's hard to put my finger on exactly what I like about him. He's animated in a very not pleasant to look at way. Very unaesthetic, let me tell you. And I really, really love this character. And I didn't really put my finger on why until I read some of the comments. You know, some of them like, I know it sounds weird, but I just really want to give 3D Squelton a hug. I'm like, I know, I feel weird about it. Like, I want to adopt him, for crying out loud. And one of the comments said, like, there's just a real purity to him. There's just a real purity. And that's what I admire about him. And it got me wondering, what exactly does that mean, purity? In people. You don't hear that said very often, except for with reference to those rings that your 20-something-year-olds that refuse to engage in physical activity with other adults because of some book telling them not to. You know, those rings that they wear. Oh man, I'm happy that I am not a subscriber to that belief. Anyway, purity. Definitions usually are around that Christian-y definition. But it also just means like free from contamination or, anything disruptive. And then I also just read like, free from like a real ill will toward the world. I mean, he says the world is rotten, but you get what I mean. Like, it's out of a real affection for the world and a real desire for things to be better and a real, just very basic nature acknowledgement of values and what you want to see in this world. It's almost simple-mindedness, and I've used that word in a video before, and I don't mean it in the way that a lot of people use it as just a PC way to say Forrest Gumpy. It just means, like, there's nothing too complicated to it. I just recognize values easily. And it's very easy for me to say, this is a good thing, this is a bad thing. There's a childishness to it also, an innocence. And I guess I want more of that innocence in my life. I want more of that purity. I still consider myself a child at heart. I mean, in some ways I consider myself a real old soul. But I almost feel like old people and children because I've taken care of both in my various jobs. Being like a day camp counselor and being a senior caregiver. It kind of comes full circle throughout one's life. That you way overcomplicate things and start developing all these philosophies and intellectual, analyses. And you set all these standards for what you can and can't like, and you have these knee-jerk reactions to things. You get super judgmental in a way that you just weren't like when you were a kid. The world really weathers your optimism. And then I just find that old people, they've been through the world's crap. They've had so many things happen to them. So many probably amazing things, but so many tragic things too. That they don't have the time for things that they can't bring themselves to care about. They just come back to really depending on their core values that are not, it's not about preaching them to people. That's not purity, is just to talk morals to people, even if you feel like you're trying to do good. Purity is just a real inherent embodiment of those values. I feel like purity is, like, I've been trying to be authentic really hardcore. And I mean, I guess that's still a goal, but I feel like authentic means that you say the way that you feel and think exactly the way that it is, which is great. But it doesn't necessarily make you a person that people are going to want to be around. It's not always, you're not always acting the most virtuously, even if you are acting authentically. Patrice O'Neal, the most authentic person you could ever find. And watch like 10 minutes of his stand-up and tell me if you would bring him to a family dinner. Which is fine. I love Patrice O'Neal. I don't need him at my family dinners. My family dinners weren't fun as a kid. Yeah, but the next step is just purity, which has authenticity in it. It's authentic in how just innocent and sort of rudimentary it all is. You come back to basics in purity. I remember one time this kid at camp, like, was trying to climb up a wall he wasn't supposed to, and a counselor asked him, "Why are you doing that?" And he just said, "Well, because it's fun." And it's like, that's all you need. But seriously, still get down, because if you fall, your parents are going to sue this camp.